YouTube. So it's a lovely wet and miserable day, but what would we expect? Got a little bit of time. I've got time enough to do this video, and I've been wanting to talk about this subject for a good while, and it's going to be another part of the Starting the Business series, and I'm going to talk to you about hourly price versus fixed pricing. Now this video is aimed at people who are just starting out, to give, it's almost going to be like a case study. You're going to see what mistakes that I made, and hopefully you can avoid them in the future. It's going to be much easier for me to do it in this style than to just say don't do it, or you need to do this. So first off, I think a business can be run successfully if you're charging hourly or fixed price. That's it. I think for my business, fixed price is the way forward. That's where I'm at now, and also my working style. I think that hourly can make you, and it sounds horrible, but it can make it where you don't want to progress, you don't want to push your kit, you don't want to push your business, you don't want to push yourself, because the more you get done in that hour, it's benefiting the customer, not necessarily yourself. I was talking to a friend about it yesterday, and he used to do little bits himself, but he used to do like bits of gardening, and he's a savvy bloke, and the way I explained it to him, as I think it's a good way of explaining it, is an hour is a lot of time. If you're cutting a hedge, you can get a lot of hedging cut in an hour. Now yes, if you're going in with, you know, a high hourly price for hedging, knowing full well you can get a lot of work done in that hour, in my personal opinion, people won't want to pay it, because they'll be thinking, well, my husband did that, so an hedge for us, we could get it done in an hour. An hedge to a customer might be 4 hours. So if you go in with, you know, a high price, knowing you can get it done in an hour, and if you're charging £50, £70, whatever, because you know you can get it done, and it's an hour's worth, you know, a good run of hedge, then that customer might be thinking, oh bloody hell, how long is it going to be? It took John, he's taking 4 hours to do that. That's going to be 300. I can't play, you know. And that's what I think. It's like mowing. You can get a lot of grass mowed, get a lot of hedging done. You can do a lot in an hour. I can go to people's houses and I could say to them, right, it'll be £45 to keep your property on top of once every 2 weeks, and I can get it done in an hour. But if you're charging hourly and you said to them, right, I'm going to be here £45 an hour, they're not going to want it. They really aren't. Some people want that hourly price. So let's roll back the time, and I'll tell you when I first started my business what I did. I charged hourly. It's as simple as that. I looked at my costings and I worked it out, and I eventually come up with a price of £15 an hour. I found it very daunting, and this is the thing what I think most people want to know when they first start gardening, is how much to charge. You can't find that out by asking the internet, asking Facebook, or looking around. You can get a rough idea, but ultimately it's only going to tell you what somebody else earns. That might be an unrealistic number for you to hit. You know, I see some YouTubers, you know, that have been doing this game a long while, and if they were to say I earn this much in a day, I'm probably nowhere near that. But there's no way I can then think, right, such and such earns 500 a day, I'll divide that up into jobs and I'll be charging customers 80 quid a pop. You know, it's just unattainable at this point. You need to work out what your costs are. I've done a separate video on that. You need to work out your hourly cost. Even if you aren't charging hourly, it's the easiest way to do it, because then that starts forming your quoting process. It starts forming you, this is how I start, and this is how I can charge price per job, because I'm working it out in my head. So I worked out my hourly cost for £15 an hour. Sorry, my wage, I worked it out at £15 an hour, and that included, as I thought at the time, what I needed to live off, plus putting back into the business. So, and as I said, I've said this before, I was still living at home. You know, my costs were low. So what I did, every single penny I earned, I put back into the business. So I was getting better and better all the time. I was getting better equipment, learning stuff, learning knowledge. I was, and this is the thing, if you keep charging hourly, there's no point doing any of that, so you'll just stagnate. That's my opinion anyway. I know people disagree on that, but so that's what I did, and I built up a little round of customers, £15 an hour. Some people come, some people went. That's the thing when you start out. Some people I got rid of, some people got rid of me. I found as well, some people did ring up, oh, how much you charge an hour? They want you there for an hour. That's their way, that's their currency, time. And if the price is right, they love it. So I started with £15 an hour, and then the first, sort of season, because I started at the end of the first lockdown, I'd already had a few customers from before then, just by doing little bits and stuff before I left my job. So I left a customer base with, a few customers on an hourly rate, £15. I picked up some more customers, picked up some more, and then I quickly realised that £15, so you can run a business, quote, run a business, on a cheap hourly rate. You cannot make a business last on a cheap hourly rate. You cannot make a business flourish on a cheap hourly rate. I quickly realised that basically, if I keep going this way, I'm not going to be earning what I need to. I'm just going to be, treading water. There's kit that I want to go from this level to this level, and what I'm earning, even if I'm flat out, I won't earn it. There's no point. So what I did was I put the prices up. So all new customers, £20 an hour, and I went in at £20 an hour for near enough every work. Some people were shocked because it's a lot of money. Some people understood, hey, he's a gardener, professional gardener, he'll get a lot done in that hour. So they were quids in, really. And that's what I did, and I always had that, and I always wanted to push the business. So even on customers like that, I was pushing myself, doing good results for the time. And I did that for probably half a season, and then I quickly realised that what ended up happening was I had one customer that did it for me, and two. I had a bloke that I worked for, and I'll call him out, I'll call his name. If he's watching, it's not tit for tat, it's to show. So this bloke, Greg, he basically told me that, because I'd asked about a price rise, I told him the next season I'll be charging more. And this was like the first year I was in business, and he said, no, he says, to me a gardener's only ever going to be worth 15 quid. I said, well, I'd like to think the work that I leave behind and my investment in kit is, and how useful I am. He says, no, he said £15 an hour is the most I'll ever pay. And that was at like the first part, the first mini year I did, because I started at the end of first lockdown. And I did carry on working for him, and then it was like halfway through the first proper year, I took on a customer at the start of that year one, and it was a grass cut, and I priced her at, again, I went in £20 an hour, and it took me an hour to cut the grass, so she gave me £20. And I think I've told this a few times now, I went from a shit mower, 15-inch Mountfield, to a 21-inch Mountfield mower, and it was night and day. It was like going from a horse and cart to a car, basically. And real upgrade, real nice mower at the time, as I thought. So I went to that, and all was well. And I remember doing the job, doing the other customers, doing this job, and I finished the lawn, and I thought, normally takes me the hour, but I finished it in about 40 minutes, something like that. Put the mower in the van. This woman come out, who was always pretty okay. She says, oh, have you finished? I says, yeah, all done. Oh, well, my clock, that's what she said, I reckon you've got 15 minutes yet. I says, well, I'm all done. So her garden was basically a lawn, a few pots, a few hanging back. That was it. Gravel front drive, just a lawn at the back. I says, well, I'm all sorted, I'm all done. She says, well, you still having fit? I thought, right. I said to her, I says, well, I have upgraded the mower. I said, that's cost £1,000. I says, but I think the cut speaks for itself. It looks a lot better cut. I says, and I've done. I says, you know, and she says, well, Luke, I am paying you 3 hours of your time because you water the plants. Shall be watering the plants. Next time I went, maybe it was me being petty, I took the old mower. I took the 15-inch, you know, the shitty one, and it took me an hour. Because I knew I could either use the new mower and drag my feet with it, really drag it out, or I could take the other mower, you know, and be productive, you know, just do it at a normal pace. And did she come out and say, oh, now you're being put, you know, basically using the... No, she was happy as she was happy because I was there the hour, and that was it. So that was it. And I said to myself afterwards, I said, Luke, this has got to stop. This isn't happening. I wasn't mega busy in my first year, but I'd started forming full days, you know, with the hourly work. I just had enough. And I said, right, something's got to change. So what I did, I said to myself, right, next customers that come through, you're charging them a fixed price. And lo and behold, I went and did. So I was doing one of my customers' lawns, and a neighbour put her head over the fence. Well, I couldn't even see her. She says, are you a gardener? I says, yeah. She says, I've just moved. How much would it cost to do my lawn? I looked at my customer's lawn. I thought, this takes me about 40 minutes. Charge her £20 an hour. She said, be 20 quid, love. And yeah, brilliant. I'll leave the money under, you know, the red plant pot. Come round and do it after. I said, yep, no problem. I walked around, walked down the side. Fuck me. The lawn was double the size, easily double the size, and it hadn't been cut yet. It wasn't a jungle, but it was a good amount that was on it. And the customer had 2 brown bins, all them were full, and the compost bin got topped right up as well. It was an absolute pig of a job. That took me about 2 hours, probably more, to be fair, 2.25. I remember, you know, like, you know, when you're just knackering yourself to get it done. You know, you could take it easy or you could go the next level, and I'm never normally the next level, but I did it, I got it done. So I was rushing, and it still took me bloody ages. Took the £20 note, went out, I thought, because she'd asked about a regular cut as well. Bloody hell. So anyway, got back home, and thank whoever's up there. I had a text off her. She said, hi Sam. She said, lawn looks nice, but the other gardener's just knocked on, and the gardener who did it beforehand has offered to take it back on. She says he charges £8, so if you want to carry on, if you want to beat his price, I'll let you. I thought, fucking hell, are you serious? And basically what this bloke is, he just takes his mower from his house and he does the whole road. Goes, knocks all the lawns out. It probably takes him 2 or 3 days, but he's getting, you know, X amount. It's his beer money, you know. Credit to him in all fairness. But I dodged a bullet, and I'll be honest with you, that did knock me confidence in terms of pricing per job. It did knock me confidence. I'm not afraid to admit it. But I stuck to it. I said, Luke, I said, Luke, this has happened. I said this to myself, this has happened, but if it would have gone the way you'd have thought it would have, you could have had a nice little lawn for in and out 20 quid, and you wouldn't be there the hour, you'd be in and out until it's done. And I saw the value of that. So that's what I did for the rest of the jobs. Hedge cutting, priced it per job, lawns per job, and then I fell back to my old pricing for stuff that I was unsure of, weeding, you know, like, I don't know, fiddly jobs. I fell back to the price for that. And then for that full year, I ended up building up pretty much a full, not full, I wasn't full, but what ended up happening basically was I had 2 sets of customers basically. I had two sets of customers and 2 sets of days. I had a day where I was doing the fixed price jobs. I was going out, smashing it, bosh, in and out, get them done, and I'd earn this amount. And I'd have days where I'd doing the hourly, and it was an hour here, travel, hour there, travel, hour there, travel, and I was earning that much. I was earning literally not as much as I was thinking. So, a few things to talk about hourly before I get on with the solution, the outcome. Is I had it with customers where if you stayed over 10 minutes, what do you do? Do you bill them for 1/6 of your hourly rate? Or do you take it on the chin? Or do you round it up, round it down? I found sometimes that if I added an extra couple of quid on, they'd question it. And then they would look at me like I was being really petty over, 10 minutes of work, 15 minutes of work. And then that ends up getting in your head where you start thinking, well, what is the cut-off? How much work do you do for free? And then I realised that there was some customers who would deliberately do that. They would deliberately come out and get you just before the end, so you would do 10 minutes work for free. I also had it where there was times where I'd finish 5 minutes early, and then one week I might finish 5 minutes late. And I had a good relationship with some customers. I always call it the give and take policy, that they were fine with that, they understood that. And there were some customers like Greg, I remember him flying out once and he had a word with me, says, you finished 5 minutes early today. As I was driving off, he says, yep, says everything's all done. Yeah, well, see, the thing is, if you finish 5 minutes today, 5 minutes next week, I says, it all adds up and I'm losing the £15. I says, Greg, I says, the past 3 visits I've come, I says, I have regularly stayed over 10 minutes, 15 minutes sometimes. I says, I have not billed you for them 10 or 15 minutes. So in my reckoning, that's 45 minutes that I'm owed. I says, we can either pay that tariff or we can do what I think we should be doing, which is a little bit of give and take. And he understood it, but he still grumbled. Basically, don't be a Greg, and I'll finish his story in a bit. So, as I said, I had 2 sets of customers. I was like leading a double life. One day I was super happy and super busy, and then the other day I was literally dragging my feet. And I'll be honest with you, it started slowing me down. I would slow down. I wouldn't drag it out, I wouldn't sit in the shed, but oh God, I remember when I finished like 50 minutes early, and I was like, oh, for God's sake. So I'd get the hoe out and I'd go and hoe the borders again. Ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. It just frustrated me. So something needed to be changed. I was 3/4 of the way through the season. There's no way I can get rid of half of my customer base and say, look, the price is going to go up or whatever. So I thought, right, we'll sort this out at the start of the second season, the second proper season. Also, I had a realisation that the half of the customers were basically subsidising the other half as well. They were making up the slack. So yeah. So next season, what I did, I thought, and this is maybe a way of getting out of it, but you'll see what happened with me. I thought, how am I going to get rid of it? How am I going to get people where it's fixed pricing? Because it's the time. I realised very early on that there's some properties I don't need to be there for 2 hours. I don't need to be there for an hour. With some people I could be there 40 minutes sometimes, and I could be there longer another time. So what I did was, with the hourly customers, there was some that I kept on an hourly because it just made sense, the type of work, and also them as a customer, because I knew that if I was doing say one bloke, if I said to him, right, it's a fixed price for the lawn, he had his own way of doing things. He was, sometimes it'd be weekly, sometimes it'd be every 2 weeks, and then sometimes it'd be it was always up to him. So, I could make it in one hand and I can lose it in the other if I was doing a fixed price. So I've still got him now, actually. I still charge him on an hourly price because it makes sense for him and for me. So I thought, what do I do? So what I did was, I said to the customers, I said, right, it's at the end of the season. I said, I'm just letting you know, I'm having a change in the business. I said, the business is changing. I was quite dramatic how I said it, because you need to get your point across. I says, I am moving away from fixed pricing. I says, from hourly pricing. I says, I no longer offer an hourly rate for new customers. I says, I've been trialling this and it's worked. I said, I don't offer hourly prices anymore. I says, for all my existing hourly customers, what I'm going to do is, I was originally going to put the price up to keep up with inflation and to keep my earnings up. I says, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the price the same, but nothing's going to change. You're still going to get the same result on the garden. The garden's still going to look nice and tidy, just how you like it. I says, but the visit time will change. I says, because there's sometimes that I come that I don't need to be here an hour. There's sometimes I come that I don't need to be here for 2 hours with, different customers. I says, so instead of, I says, you budget the money, you budget the £40, I says, you budget the 30, you budget the 20, whatever, the 35, whatever. So I'm going to keep the price the same, so your budget won't change, but what will happen is it's on me to maintain your garden. I says, so sometimes I will be here, an hour. I'm in a tunnel, by the way. Sometimes I'll be here an hour, sometimes I'll be here an hour and 20 minutes, sometimes I'll be here 40 minutes. This is for like the hour. And same with a 2 hour bloke. I says, 2 hour people, I might be here 2.5 hours one day, I might be here an hour the next visit. And I did that, then big sort of leaps and jumps to see the reaction, because if you say, it might be 1 hour and 51 minutes, they might think, he's just saving 10 minutes. So I did that to get that reaction. Now, I'd say the majority of them understood it. That, yep, no problem, Sam. And I told them why. I say it's because I want to be an efficient gardener and the best gardener I can. And to do that, I said I need to have the money to put back into the business. And I said also, I need to keep earning money. I says, because if I'm doing an hour here, there's only so many properties. And when you factor in travel time, I says, there's only so much work that I could actually do. So that was a big factor as well. And they understood it. I pretty much laid my cards on the table. Now, I had some customers that didn't get it, and we actually ended up parting ways there. And then she says, well, we won't be having your services for next year. Same exact deal, your price isn't going up, the outcome's not changing. I says, you're not getting less of a gardener, you're not getting, I said, if any problems, I says, we'll try it. I said, if any problems arise, we'll go back to how it used to be. We won't, but it was on the table. Never took me up, but says, no, we need you here for an hour, Sam. Never, as I said. So yeah, I did lose a couple by doing it, but then there was some other people, and basically they just didn't get it. They didn't understand it. So if you're only here an hour and 21 week, will I still pay you all the money for 2 hours? Yes. Well, that's not fair on me because you're not doing it full time. I says, yeah. I says, but I might be here 2.5 hours the following week. I says, but I won't be expecting any more money. I says, it's during the summer. I says, when it's growing like crazy. I says, and I'm having to double cut it, it'll still be the same price for you. Yeah, well, I understand that, and I know you do try and keep it at the 2 hours. They didn't understand it, basically. That's the only way I can explain it. It just wasn't sinking in. And then they did understood it. They said they did. Okay, well, I tell you what, we'll try it. I think I know what you mean. We'll try it. First visit back, finished in an hour and a half. You've only been here an hour and a half, Sam. I said, well, remember what I discussed with you last... I told them 3 times. Told them once at the end of the season, once when I dropped the card off, and before I even started the work that day. And this was like 2 customers, 3 customers, all did the same thing. And they weren't actually. Some of them were like middle-aged. They just didn't understand it. And I says, but let's just have a look at the garden. I says, are you happy with the garden? Yeah, it just looks fine. I says, this garden to me, I says, is perfect. I says, there's nothing more I can do here. I said, if I was to do the extra half an hour, I would be looking at my feet or re-hoeing it. I said, it's wasting my time. I said to you that I need to grow. I laid it on the table for them. They didn't understand. And they put up with it, but eventually we parted ways. Maybe I could have worded it better, but I don't think I could have, as I said. Sometimes I think it's best to say as little as possible. Basically just tell them what's happening and that's it. It's up to them. And then sometimes I think, well, you lay the heart on the table, you lay the facts out, but you get the same results sometimes. It's those vacant stares of, I think you understand. So let's finish up with Greg then, shall we? We'll get him out of the picture. So Greg, I was at the point now where it was the start of the second season, I had enough confidence in me that I could earn more than he was paying. And I rung him up, and he was a businessman, and I just said to him, I says, Luke, I says, we had this discussion at the end of last season. I said, I did carry on working at your price, so it's no longer working out for me. He says, well, if you think you can earn more, go elsewhere then. I said, well, that's what I've been doing, Greg. I said, I've built up I said, the business is doing well. I said, it's doing what it needs to be. I said, and I'm charging a lot more to other people that live in my town opposed to driving to your town and earning a lot less. Oh. I said, I'm just letting you know I won't be able to carry on the services for you. Okay, he didn't back down, he didn't say, oh, but no, because he's a stubborn bugger. So that was the parting of that story, that chapter. And you know, these things happen at the end of the day. I'm not being pissy about people at all. These things happen. So now I'm hoping now you can understand why it's important to not get tied into an hourly, because it's hard to get out of, and it's hard to I think it's hard to run a successful business. Anyway, so if I had my time again, or what would I suggest to you? I'd suggest you charge hourly. That sounds really stupid. When you're first starting out, you don't know what you don't know. It'll probably do more harm than good if you go with a fixed price and you've never priced up for work before. It'll probably do you more harm than good, and it'll get you second guessing yourself and thinking, oh well, I've done this wrong, I've done that wrong. Use hourly customers as a way of working out things. Charge people an hourly rate, charge your customers an hourly rate, and like I said, use them to sort of grow your business. Think, right, I've done Mrs. Such and Such's lawn, it's about the size of a tennis court, I can do it in however long, and I've just had an inquiry for another lawn roughly that shape. What do I do then? And you can build off it. As I said, I think you can run a successful business doing it that way, but as I said, start as you mean to go on with it. But it's up to you. It really is up to you on which sort of course of action that you take. It is. But like I said, it is what it is, I'm afraid. But for me, running my business, I've found hourly pricing is the way forward. Sorry, not hourly pricing, fixed pricing. I think it's the way forward. I think it's the best thing that I've done for my business, if I'm being honest with you, is making a change. I found it's benefited me. I feel more productive and more profitable. I don't need to be like, don't get me, I have one speed, but I genuinely think the speed that I work at, it is efficient, it is productive, and I enjoy it. I enjoy my job. I don't feel pressured to slow down or hurry up. So for me, fixed pricing's worked out really well. But like I said at the start, charge hourly, and then don't build a business on hourly. Start your business on hourly, but don't build your back off it. Have a good day, guys. Usual, keep on gardening.